Pardoner's Prologue by Geoffrey Chaucer. As background, in the medieval church, a pardoner was a clergy member who had authority from the Pope to grant indulgences, certificates of forgiveness to people who showed a great charity. In practice, however, many pardoners, such as Chaucer's Pilgrim, were unethical and sold their certificates to make money for the church or themselves. All right, so let's begin. My lords, he said, in churches where I preach, I cultivate a haughty kind of speech, and it out as roundly as a bell. I've got it all by heart at the tale I tell. I have a text, it always is the same, and always has been since I learnt the game. Old as the hills and fresher than the grass, radix malorum est cupidat. I preach as you have heard me say before, and tell 100 lying mockeries more. I take great pains in stretching out my neck. East and west I crane about a pack. Just like a pigeon sitting on a barn, my hands and tongues together spin the yarn. And all my antics are a joy to see, the curse of avarice and cupidity. It is all my sermon, for it frees the pelf. I'll come the pence, and specially for myself. For my exclusive purpose is to win, and not at all to castigate their sin. Once dead, what matter how their souls may fare? They can go blackberrying for all I care. And thus I preach against the very vice I make my living out of, avarice. And yet, however guilty of that sin myself, with others I have the power with to win. From from it I can bring them to repent, but that is not my principal intent. Covetousness is both the root and stuff of all I preach. That ought to be enough. Well, then, I give examples thick and fast from bygone times, old stories from the past. A yokel mind loves stories of old, being the kind of it can be repeat and hold. What do you think, as long as I can preach and get their silver for the things I teach, that I will live in poverty from my choice? That's not the cancel of my inner voice. No, let me preach and beg from kirk to kirk, and never do an honest job of work. No, nor make baskets like St. Paul to gain a livelihood. I do not preach in vain. There's no apostle I would counterfeit. I mean to have money, wool, and cheese, and wheat, though it were given me by the poorest lad of poorest village widow, though she had a string of starving children all agape. No, let me drink the liquor of the grape, and keep a jolly wench in every town. But listen, gentlemen, to bring things down to a conclusion, would you like a tale? No, now as I've drunk a draught of corn-ripe ale, by God it stands to reason I can strike on some good story that you all will like. For though I am a wholly vicious man, don't think I can't tell moral tales. I can. Here's one I often preach when out for winning. Okay, so here's the partner's tale. Of three rioters I have to tell, who, long before the morning service bell, were sitting in a tavern for a drink, and as they sat they heard the handbell clink. Before a coffin going to the grave, one of them called the little tavern knave, and said, "Go and find out at once, look spry, look whose corpse is in that coffin passing by, and see you get the name correctly too." "Sir," said the boy, "no need, I promise you. 2 hours before you came here I was told he was a friend of yours in days of old. And suddenly last night the man was slain, upon his bench, face up, dead drunk again. There came a privy thief, they call him Death, who kills us all around here, and in a breath he speared him through the heart. He never stirred, and then Death went his way without a word. He's killed 1,000 in the present plague, and sir, it doesn't do to be too vague. If you should meet him, you had best be wary. Be on your guard with such adversary. Be primed to meet him everywhere you go. That's what my mother said. That's all I know." The publican joined in with, "By St. Mary, what the child says is right. You'd best be wary. This very year he killed in a large village, a mile away, man, woman, serf at tillage. Page and the household children all were there. Yes, I imagine that he lives round there. It's well to be prepared in these alarms. He might do you dishonor. Huh, God's arms." The rioter said, "Is he so fierce to meet? I'll search for him, by Jesus, street by street. God's blessed bones, I'll register a vow." Here, chaps, the three of us together now. Hold up your hands like me, and we'll be brothers in this affair, and each defend the others. And we will kill this traitor Death, I say. Away with him, as he has made away with all our friends, God's dignity, tonight. They made their bargain, swore with appetite, these three, to live and die for one another, as brother born might swear to his born brother. And up they started in their drunken rage, and made towards this village, which the page and publican had spoken of before. Many and grisly were the oaths they swore, tearing Christ's blessing body to a shred. If we can only catch him, Death is dead. When they had gone not fully half a mile, just as they were about to cross a stile, they came upon a very poor old man, who humbly greeted him, and thus began: "God look to you, my lords, and give you quiet." To which the proudest of these men of riot gave back the answer, "What, old fool, give place! Why are you all wrapped up, except your face? Why live so long? Isn't it time to die?" The old fellow looked him in the eye, and said, "Because I never yet have found, though I have walked to India, searching round village and city on my pilgrimage, one who would change his youth to have my age. And so my age is mine, and must be still upon me for such time as God may will. Not even death, alas, will take my life. So like a wretched prisoner at strife, within himself I walk alone and wait about the earth, which is my mother's gate, knocking with my staff from night to noon, and crying, "Mother, open to me soon. Look at me, mother, won't you let me in? See how I wither, flesh and blood and skin. Alas, when will these bones be laid to rest? Mother, I would exchange for what that were best, the wardrobe in my chamber standing there, so long for yours, I for a shirt of hair, to wrap me in. She refused her grace. Whence come the pallor of my withered face? But it dishonored you when you began to speak so roughly, sir, to an old man, unless he had injured you in word or deed. It says in Holy Writ, as you may read, "Thou shalt rise up before the hoary head and honor it." And therefore be it said, do no harm to an old man than you, being now young, would have another do, when you are old, if you shall live till then. And so may God be with you, gentlemen, for I must go whither I have to go. "By God," the gambler said, "you shan't do so. Don't get off so easy, by St. John. I heard you mention, just a moment gone, a certain traitor Death, who singles out and kills the fine young fellows hereabout. And you're his spy, by God. You wait a bit. Say where he is, or you shall pay for it. By God and by holy sacrament, I say you've joined together by consent to kill us younger folk, you thieving swine." "Well, sirs," he said, "if it be your design to find Death, turn up this crooked way towards that grove. I left him there to-day, under a tree, and there you'll find him waiting. He isn't one to hide for all your prating. You see that oak? He won't be far to find, and God protect you, that redeemed mankind. I amend you." Thus that ancient man. At once the three young riders began to run and reach the tree, and there they found a pile of golden florins on the ground, new coined, 8 bushels of them, as they thought. No longer was it death the fellows sought, for they were all so thrilled to see the sight. The florins were so beautiful and bright. That down they sat beside the precious pile. The wickedest spoke first after a while. "Brothers," he said, "you listen to what I say. I'm pretty sharp, although I joke away. It's clear that fortune has bestowed this treasure to let us live in jollity and pleasure. Light come, light go. We'll spend it as we ought. God's precious dignity. Who would have thought this morning was to be our lucky day? If one could get if one could only get the gold away, back to my house, or else to yours, perhaps, for as you know, the gold is ours, chaps, we'd all be at the top of fortune, hey? But certainly it can't be done by day. People would call us robbers, a strong gang. So our own property would make us hang. No, we must bring this treasure back by night, some prudent way, and keep it out of sight. And so a solution I propose, we draw for lots to see the way it goes. The one who draws the longest lucky man shall run to town as quickly as he can, to fetch us bread and wine, but keep things dark, while two remain in hiding here to mark. Our heap of treasure, if there's no delay. When the night comes down, we'll carry it away, all three of us, wherever we have planned. He gathered lots and hid them in his hand, bidding them draw for where the luck should fall. Fell upon the youngest of them all, and off he ran at once towards the town. As soon as he had gone, the first sat down, and thus began a parley with the other. "You know that you can trust me as a brother. Now let me tell you where your profit lies. You know our friend has gone to get supplies. Here's a lot of gold that is to be divided equally among us three. Nevertheless, if I could shape things thus, so that we shared it out, the two of us, wouldn't you take it as a friendly act?" "But how?" the other said. "He knows the fact that all the gold was left with me and you. What can we tell him? What are we to do?" "It is a bargain," said the first, "or no, for I can tell you in a word or so what's to be done to bring the thing about." "Trust me," the other said, "you needn't doubt my word. I won't betray you. I'll be true." "Well," said the friend, "you see that we are two, and two are twice as powerful as one. Now look, when he comes back, get up in fun to have a wrestle, then, as you attack, I'll up and put my dagger through his back, while you and he are struggling as in game. Then draw your dagger too, and do the same. Then all this money will be ours to spend, divided equally, of course, dear friend. Then we can gratify our lusts and fill the day with dicing at our own sweet will." Thus these two miscreants agreed to slay the third and youngest, as you heard me say. The youngest, as he ran towards the town, kept turning over, rolling up and down, within his heart the beauty of those bright New Florins, saying, "Lord, to think I might have all that treasure to myself alone! Could there be anyone beneath the throne of God so happy as I should be?" And so the fiend, our common enemy, was given the power to put it in his thoughts that there was always poison to be bought, and that with poison he could kill his friends. To men in such a state the devil sends thoughts of this kind as a full permission to lure them on to sorrow and perdition. For this young man, utterly content to kill both and never to repent. Okay, we'll finish the rest on the next recording.